Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Tandasya ज्ञानगुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवाञ्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। So we'll continue from Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 4, Devotional Service Surpasses of Liberation. So, as we are discussing about how devotees are freed from the desire of getting liberated. So, now here there's a nice quote from a 7th canto, 8th chapter, verse number 42. When the demigods are offering prayer to Lord Narasimha, Indra, the king of heaven, he says, प्रत्यानिता परमभवता त्रायतना स्वभागा दैत्याक्रान्तं हृदयकमलं त्वत्गृहं प्रत्युदोऽपि कालग्रस्तं कियदिमिर्महो नाथ शुश्रूषतां ते मुक्तिस्तेषां नाहि बहुमता नारसिंह पराकिम्. O Supreme One, these demons talk of our share of participation in the performance of ritualistic sacrifices. But simply by your appearance as Lord Narasimhadev, you have saved us from terrible fears. Actually, our shares in the sacrificial performance are due to you only. Because you are the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, you are the super soul of every living entity. And therefore, you are the actual owner of everything. Long were our hearts always filled with fear of this demon, Hiranyakashipu. But you are so kind toward us that by killing him, you have removed that fear from within our hearts and have given us the chance to place your Lordship within our hearts again. For persons who are engaged in the transcendental living service of your Lordship, all opulences which were taken away from us by the demons are counted as nothing. Devotees do not care even for liberation. What to speak of these material opulences? Actually, we are not enjoyers of the fruits of sacrifices. Our only duty is to always be engaged in your service, for you are the enjoyer of everything. See, this is the wonderful prayer offered by Lord Indra to their lordship when Hiranyakashipu was killed and demigods they started to pacify their lordship. Here Indra he offered this wonderful prayer to the Lord. Prabhupada says the purport of this statement of Indra is that beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, no living entities are meant for enjoying the material opulences. They are simply meant for offering everything to the Supreme Proprietor, the personality of a Godhead. By doing so, they automatically enjoy the benefit. The example can be cited again of the different parts of the bodies. Collecting foodstuff and cooking them so that ultimately the meal may be offered to the stomach. After it has gone to stomach, all the parts of the body equally enjoy the benefit of meal. So similarly, everyone's duty is to satisfy the Supreme Lord, and then automatically everyone will be satisfied. So again, There's a nice verse found in Srimad Bhagavatam in 8th canto, 3rd chapter, where Gajendra is offering his prayers. He says, एकान्तिनो यस्य न कञ्चानार्थं वाञ्छितं ये वै भगवत्प्रपन्ना अत्युद्भुतं तच्चरितं सुमङ्गलं गायन्तमानन्दसमुद्रमग्नः. Gajendra says, my dear Lord, I have no experience of a transcendental bliss derived from your devotional service. So, therefore, I have asked from you some favor. But I know that persons who are pure devotees and have, by serving the lotus feet of a great souls, become freed from all material desires, are always merged in the ocean of a transcendental bliss, and as such are always satisfied simply by glorifying your auspicious characteristics. For them, there is nothing else to aspire to or pray for. एकांतिनो यस्य न कंचनार्थं वाञ्छति ये वै भगवत् प्रपन्नः अत्युद्भुतं तच्चरितं सुमंगलम गायन्त आनंद समुद्रमग्नः. न कंचनार्थ वांछितम. They don't desire anything materially, Why? Because they are Bhagavat Prapanna. They have taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. And they are always happy in what? Adbhyuttatam atyanta adbhutam tacharitam sumangalam gayantam. And Ananda Samudra Magnaha. They are always merged in the ocean of a transcendental bliss. And they are always satisfied. That's the quality of devotees. Then in the 9th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, again in the 4th chapter, the Lord of Vaikuntha replies to Durvasmani, Mat sevaya pratitam te salokyam adi chatushrayam nechanti sevaya purnaha kuto anyat kala viluktam. My pure devotees are always satisfied being engaged in the devotional service, and therefore they do not aspire even after the 5 liberated stages, which are Aikyam, that is to be one with the Lord, Salokyam, achieving the residence on my planet, Sarshti, to have my opulences, to possess bodily features similar to mine, that is Sarupya, and fifth one, to gain the personal association with him, that is Samipya. He says, Mat sevaya pratitamte salokyadi chatushtam. This salokyadi chatushtam means this 5 different kinds of muktis. So they are not desired for nechandi. They don't desire that. Then what they desire for? Mat sevaya. They are desiring for my service. So when they are not interested even in the liberation positions, you can know how little they care for material opulences and material liberation. Then there is another prayer offered by Nagapatnis, the wives of Kaliya serpents, in the 10th canto, 16th chapter, verse number 37. Nanakaprushtham na cha sarvabhaumam na parameshtham na rasadhipatyam na yoga siddhim punarbhavam va vanchati yat padaraja prapanna. The Nagapatni says, Dear Lord, the dust of your lotus feet is very wonderful. Any person who is fortunate enough to achieve this does not care for heavenly planets, lordship over all the planetary systems, the mystic perfections of yoga, or even a liberation from material existence. In other words, anyone who adores the dust of your lotus feet does not care a fig for all the perfectional stages. न नाकपृष्ठं न च सार्वभौमं न पारमेष्ठ्यं न रसाधिपत्यम् no yoga siddhir punarbhavam va vanchati yatpadaraja prapanna. See, the similar verse is there that we have read. Do you remember yesterday? Hmm? In the sixth canto by Vritrasur. न नागपृष्ठम न महेन्द्रधीष्ण्यम न सार्वभौमम न रसाधिपत्यम न योग सिद्धिर पुनर्भवम मा samanjasam tva viraya kangshe. So here, this last part is different. Samanjasasva viraha kangshe. That's what Vritrasura says. And Nagapatni, they says, the person who is adorn his head with the dust of your lotus feet. Hmm? Vanchati yatpada raja prapannaha. If someone has adorned his head by your dust, he will not desire anything else. And Vritrasura says, someone who is engaged in the service of your lotus feet, he will not desire anything else. So that's the importance of taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord or taking dust from his lotus feet. Raja. So if someone is able to take Vraja Raj even on the forehead of the, or just having this tilaka on the forehead, that itself makes you devotee. It's not that easy. Not everyone can put tilak. They feel shy. Even at home also they don't do that. Forget about going to the office with tilak. But this is what our way of accepting the mercy of their lordship. This is nothing but the dust of Gopi's lotus feet. But we are
I just
shy.
washed my face, Prabhuji.
Uh,
I put tilak.
I'm not taunting you. It's not you. There, most of the devotees, when they want to come to temple, they will have a tilak on the forehead. Sometimes only just small, this tulasi. But here we can understand that the glory of having this dust of Lord's lotus feet and devotees' lotus feet. Then there is a nice prayer again by the Vedas, Shruti mantras. 10th canto, 87th chapter, verse 21. The Shrutis, they are saying, dear Lord, it is very difficult to understand spiritual knowledge. Your appearance here, just as you are, is to explain to us this most difficult subject of knowledge of the spirit. As such, your devotees who have left their domestic comforts to associate with the liberated acharyas are now fully merged in the devotional service of your lordship, and thus they do not care for any so-called liberation. दुरवगमात्मतत्त्वनिगमाय तत्त्वान्तनो चरितमहा-अमृताब्धिर्परिवर्तं परिश्रमणः न परिलक्ष्यन्ति केचित् अपवर्ग अपमेश्वरः ते चरणसरोजहंसकुलसङ्गविसृष्टगृहा who has given up their domestic life, and Charana Saroja Hansa Kula Sangaha, and they have taken the shelter of your lotus feet. Hansa Kula Sangha. See how wonderfully that word they have used. Vedastutis they are saying. Te Charana Saroja Hansa Kula Sangha Vistrushta Gruha. Hansa Kula Sangha. They have they have used the word Hansa Kula to indicate the devotees, because only Hansa can take pleasure in the lotus, and Lord's feet are there like a lotus. So someone who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, they are called as Hansakula. And if someone takes association of them, they will attend devotional service to the Lord. Nothing else. In explaining this verse, it should be noted this spiritual knowledge means understanding the self and supersoul and superself. The individual soul and the supersoul are qualitatively one, and therefore both of them are known as Brahman or a spirit. But knowledge of Brahman is very difficult to understand. There are so many philosophers engaged in the matter of understanding soul, but they are unable to make any tangible advancement. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that out of many millions of persons, only one may try to understand what is spiritual knowledge. And out of many such a persons who are trying to understand, only one or a few may know that, may know what is the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. So this verse says that spiritual knowledge is very difficult to achieve, and so in order to make it more easily attainable, the Supreme Lord himself comes in his original form as Krishna and gives his instruction directly to an associate like Arjuna. See, who is saying this? The Shruti mantras, the Shrutis from the Vedas, they themselves are saying that it's very difficult to achieve spiritual knowledge. Bah. Durava Agama Atma Tattva Nigamaya. It's very difficult to understand the knowledge about soul and super soul. And that's why Lord, He Himself comes and give this knowledge and makes it digestible for us, as He has given this Bhagavad Gita to His dear friend Arjuna. Now you can understand why everyone is not taking Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada clearly says that out of millions of persons, only one may try to understand what is spiritual knowledge. And out of many such a persons who are trying to understand, only one or a few may know what is the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. That's why it is said, Durlabha Sadhu Sangha. To have the association of sadhus is very rare because sadhus are rare. Shaile Shailena Manikyam Mautikam Na Gaje Gaje Sadhavona Hi Sarvatra Chandanam Tuvanivane. Every mountain does not have a manik ruby, and neither every forest has a chandana trees, and neither the all elephants they have that gajamautik in their forehead. As they are rare, same way durlabha sadhu sangha or sadhu sangati. It's very difficult to get sadhus. Why? Because they are among one in billions actually. Many millions. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan pravantyante. Manushanam sahasreshu thousands of there, or Prabhupada says millions of persons. Only one may try to get near to spirituality. So we have got a very rare opportunity. So we need to be very serious about that. So this verse says that spiritual knowledge is very difficult to achieve. And so, in order to make it more easily attainable, the Lord Himself comes in His original form as a Krishna and gives His instruction directly to an associate like Arjuna, just so that the people in general may take advantage of this spiritual knowledge. This verse also explains that liberation means having completely given up all the material comforts of life. Those who are impersonalists are satisfied by simply being liberated from the material circumstances. But those who are devotees can automatically give up material life and also enjoy the transcendental bliss of hearing and chanting the wonderful activities of Lord Krishna. Again, in the 11th canto, their Lordship, in the 20th chapter, text number 34, he is explaining to Uddhava, न किंचित साधवो धीरा भक्ता ऐकांतिको मम वांछन्त्यपि मया दत्तम कैवल्यम apunarbhavam. My dear Uddhava, the devotees who have completely taken shelter of my service are so steadfast in devotional service that they have no other desire, even if they are offered the four kind of spiritual opulences. They will refuse to accept them. Kaivalya apunarbhavam. Again, the same. See, same thing is followed from third chapter, from the third canto, where Kapila Muni is explaining to Mother Devahuti. Then the prayers offered by demigods to their lordship. Then again Vritrasura in sixth canto. Then again Prahlad Maharaj, Indra in seventh canto. Then Gajendra in the eighth canto. Then Lord He Himself in the ninth canto. And tenth canto, there are many devotees. And again, their lordship in the 11th canto, explaining the one thing only, that devotees are not interested anything else other than serving their lordship, and that anything else means this liberation. See that same verse again, uh, what Vritrasura has said, what Nagapatni has said, again their lordship he himself explaining that na parameshyam न महेन्द्रधिष्ण्यम न सार्वभौमम न रसाधिपत्यम न योग सिद्धिर अपुनर्भवम वा मयि अर्पिता आत्म इच्छति मदन विना न अन्यत. My dear Uddhava, a person whose consciousness is completely absorbed in my thought and activities, मयि अर्पिता आत्म इच्छति मद विना अन्यत, does not aspire even to occupy the post of Brahma or the post of Indra or the post of lordship over the planets or the eight kinds of a mystic perfections or even liberation itself. See, that's the glory, of devotional service. Even their lordship, he himself is glorifying that one who possesses, he does not want anything in this material world other than me and my service. Again, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th chapter, verse 6, Lord says to Devi, Lord Shiva, he is in the 12th canto, 10th chapter, verse number 6. He says, नवै इच्छत आशिषः क्वापि ब्रह्मर्षि मोक्ष उप्यते भक्तिं परां भगवती लब्धवान purushe अव्यये. My dear Devi, this great Brahmana sage Markandeya has attained unflinching faith and devotion unto the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. And as such, he does not aspire after any benedictions, including liberation from the material world. Again, the similar statement in Padma Puran describing the ritualistic function during the month of Kartik. During this month in Vrindavan, it is a regulatory principle to pray daily Lord Krishna in his Damodar form. The Damodar form refers to Krishna in his childhood, when he was tied up with the rope by his mother Yashoda. Dama means roams and Udara means the abdomen. So Mother Yashoda, being very disturbed by naughty Krishna, bound him around the abdomen with a rope, and thus Krishna is named Damodar. And during the month of Kartik, Damodar is prayed as follows. And that there comes the nice verse. Varam deva moksham na mokshavarim va na chanyam bruneham vare shadapiha idam deva purnata gopalavalam sada mimanasya virastam kimanye kuberatmajau baddhau mukdevayadva Tvaya mochitau bhakti bhajo kritau cha Tatha prema bhaktim swakami prayacha Namokshi gruho mesti damodare Namokshi gruho sti damodare. My dear Lord, you are the Lord of all, the giver of all benedictions. There are many demigods like Brahma or Lord Shiva who sometimes offer benediction to their respective devotees. As example, Ravana was blessed with many benedictions by Lord Shiva, and Hiranyakashipu was blessed by Lord Brahma. But even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma depends on the benedictions of Lord Krishna. And therefore, Krishna is addressed as the Lord of Benedictors. As such, Lord Krishna can offer his devotees anything they want. But still, the devotees' prayer continues. I do not ask you for liberation or any material facility up to the point of a liberation. What I want as your favor is that I may always think of your form in which I see you now as Damodar. You are so beautiful and attractive that my mind does not want anything besides this wonderful form. In this same prayer, there is another passage in which it is said, My dear Lord Damodar, once when you were playing as a naughty boy in the house of Nanda Maharaj, you broke the box containing yogurt, and because of that, Mother Yashoda considered you an offender and tied you with a rope to the household grinding mortar. At that time, you delivered two sons of Kuvera, Nalakuvar and Manigriv, who were staying there as two Arjuna trees in the yard of Nanda Maharaj. My only request is that by your merciful pastimes, you may similarly deliver me. The story behind this verse is that the two sons of Kuvera, the treasurer of demigods, are puffed up on account of the opulences of their father. And so once on a heavenly planet, they were enjoying themselves in the lake with some naked damsels of heaven. At that time, the great Saint Narada Muni was passing on the road and was sorry to see the behavior of the son of Kuvera. Seeing Narada passing by, the damsels of heaven covered their bodies with a cloth. But the two sons, being drunkards did not have this decency. Narada became angry with their behavior and cursed them thus. You have a no sense, so it is better if you become trees instead of the sons of Kuvera. Upon hearing this, the boys came to their senses and begged Narada to be pardoned for their offenses. Narada then said, yes, you shall become trees, Arjuna trees, and you will stand in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. But Krishna himself will appear in time as the foster son of Nanda, and he will deliver you. In other words, the curse of Narada was benediction to the sons of Kuvera because indirectly it was foretold that they would be able to receive the favor of Lord Krishna. After that, Kuvera's two sons stood as two big Arjuna trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj until Lord Damodara, in order to fulfill the desire of Narada, dragged the grinding mortar to which he was tied and struck the two trees, violently causing them to fall down. From out of these fallen trees came Nalakuvar and Manigriv, who had by then become great devotees of the Lord. So, in this way, very nicely it is explained here by Sripad Rupa Goswami that unless and until one develops that deep devotion for the Lord, hmm, he will not get detached or develop that vairagya that he will give up the desire to get even liberated. There is another passage in the Hayashirsha Pancharatra which says, न धर्म काम अर्थम वा मोक्षम वा वरदेश्वर प्रार्थयेते तव पादाब्ज दास्यमेवाभिकामये. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of a Godhead, I do not want any resultant benediction from my religious life, nor do I want any economic development, nor do I want to enjoy sense gratification, nor liberation. I simply pray to be an eternal servant at your lotus feet. न धर्म अर्थ कर्म न धर्म काम अर्थम वा मोक्षम वा वरदेश्वर प्रार्थये तव पादाब्जे दास्यम एवापि कामये. I need only devotional service, nothing else. And again, there further it is said that Punah Punarvaran Disat Vishnur Muktim Nayachitaha Bhaktireva Vritayena Praladam Tam Namamyaham Yadruchya Labdhamapi Vishnor Darsharathes Yaha Naichan Namoksham Vinadasyam Tasmai Hanumate Namaha. I simply pray to be an eternal servant of your lotus feet. Kindly oblige me and give me this benediction. In the same Hayashirsha Pancharatra, after Narsimhadev wanted to give benediction to Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad did not accept any material benediction and simply asked the favor of the Lord to remain his eternal devotee. In this connection, Prahlad Maharaj cited the example of Hanuman, the eternal servitor of Lord Ramachandra, who also set an example by never asking any material favor from the Lord. He always remained engaged in the Lord's service. That is the ideal character of Hanuman, for which he is still worshipped by all the devotees. Prahlad Maharaj also offered his respectful obeisances unto Hanuman. Naivan nai ichchena moksham vina dasyam tasmai Hanumate namaha. There is a well-known verse spoken by Hanuman in which he says, Bhavabandam इच्छदे तस्मै स्पृहयामि न मुक्तये Bhavan Prabhur Aham Dasa iti yatra vilupyate. My dear Lord, if you like, you can give me salvation from this material existence or the privilege of merging into your existence. But I do not wish any of these things. I do not want anything which diminishes my relationship with you as a servant to master, even after liberation. Actually, Tukaram Maharaj also, he says the same thing. Advaitite nahi maje samadhana. I don't have any satisfaction in merging in your existence. Tu deva mi dasa ha maza bhava kayam raho. You are the master, I am your servant. That consciousness should be stay eternally. See, devotees, they may be in any era. They may be in Satya Yoga, they may be in Krita Yoga, they may be in Treta Yoga, or maybe in Kali Yoga. All they have a same prayer. They want only shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord and his devotion. They want nothing else. And that's why we can say we are in proper, authentic parampara, because this parampara carries the same principle since the ages. Time may change, circumstances may change, but prayers are same. There's another nice verse actually. Hmm. In Narad Vancharatra, in Chitanta Stotra, there is a nice verse which says the same way. Dharmartha kama moksheshu nesham mama kadachana. Tvatpada pankaja syadho jivitam diyatam maya. Moksha salokya sarupyan prathaye na dharadhara. Ichhami hi mahabhaga karunyam tavastruvat. I simply pray at you, grant me the favor of keeping me under your lotus feet. I do not wish any kind of a liberation such as salokya, saropya, to reside on your planet or to have the same bodily features as you. I simply pray for your favor that I may be always engaged in loving service of you.
So,
So,
Prabhuji, this question, Prabhuji.
yeah,
So,
go ahead.
this devotional service, I mean, service at the lotus feet, is it possible only in Goloka Vrindavan, or is it also possible in other Vaikuntha planets?
See the prayers, they are offered by whom? All are Vaikuntha people. Nagapatnis, they were here rightly in Vrindavan. Indra was praying from his planet. Gajendra was playing from the place where he was. Hanuman, he was praying at the lotus feet of the Lord from Kim Purusha Loka. So, that's why Lord Shiva, he says to Mother Sati, Narayana parasarve na kutashana vibhyati, swarga apavarga, narkeshu api tulyata darshana. For the Narayan Parayanas, whose mind is there at the Lord, all the places are same, because Lord is there. Wherever Lord, there is Vaikuntha.
Mm.
Okay, we'll